The concept of trust is just, it's absolutely foundational to how we experience the world, isn't it? I mean, you trust the floor is going to hold your weight when you step out of bed. You trust the sun is going to rise.
Right, it's automatic.
Exactly. And when you pick up a book, specifically a mystery novel, there is this implicit, unshakable contract of trust between you and the voice in your ear, the narrator. You trust them to be your eyes and ears.
You trust them to tell you the truth about what they're seeing.
Yeah. But that raises a pretty terrifying question, which is what happens when that trust is weaponized? What happens when the voice guiding you through the dark is actually the one, holding the knife?
That is the destabilizing question right at the center of today's deep dive.
Yeah.
We are stripping back the layers of what is probably the most controversial, influential, and technically brilliant crime novel ever written.
We are tackling a titan today, Agatha Christie.
And not just any Christie either. We aren't really looking at her general biography today, though that is super fascinating on its own. We are focusing exclusively on the masterpiece that broke all the rules, the one that launched her into the literary stratosphere.
The queen of crime at the absolute height of her powers.
Exactly.
But before we even open the book, I think we need to understand the sheer magnitude of the author. We hear that title, Queen of Crime, and it almost sounds like a cliche now, but the statistics are frankly hard to wrap your head around.
They really are. Just to put it in perspective for you, Agatha Christie has sold over 1 billion copies in the English language, and then another billion in translation.
2 billion books.
2 billion. She's the most widely published author of all time. The only entities that sit above her on the historical podium are the Bible and William Shakespeare.
That puts her cultural impact into a completely different category.
It does. She isn't just a writer. She is an architect of modern storytelling.
It's wild to think about. Shakespeare, the Bible, and Agatha Christie, that's the holy trinity of publishing. And today, we are zooming in on the exact point where that legacy was cemented.
We are. We're doing a deep dive specifically into her 1926 masterpiece.
So, just to be incredibly clear for our audio overview, the book name is The Murder of Roger Ackroyd by Agatha Christie.
That's the one. And this book was the major turning point.
It really was, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Published in 1926, it was her first book with the publisher Collins, which actually sparked a relationship that lasted 50 years. And it was the first of her work to be dramatized for the London West End. They called the play Alibi.
Right, but more importantly, it was the book that proved the detective novel could be high art.
Yes. It wasn't just a parlor puzzle anymore. It was a deep psychological study.
No, we do have to issue a very serious, very critical disclaimer before we go a single step further. The entire reputation of this book rests on its ending.
It's the most famous twist in literature.
Exactly. We cannot discuss the mechanics of this book without discussing the solution. So this is a deep dive, not a teaser trailer. We are going to spoil the ending.
We have to.
If you have not read the book and you want to experience the shock firsthand, you really should pause this right now. Go read it. It is entirely worth it. Then come back because we are going to deconstruct exactly how she tricked you.
Consider yourself thoroughly warned.
All right, let's unpack this. We should start with the setting. We are in the village of King's Abbot.
King's Abbot is your quintessential English village. It's sleepy, it's green, it's picturesque.
But in a Christie novel, picturesque is usually a trap.
It's a total trap. It's a panopticon. It's a place where privacy is a complete illusion. In King's Abbot, everyone knows everyone else's business. Or at least they think they do.
I love that description. The fishbowl effect.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's a surveillance state run by net curtains and tea parties. And our guide through this social minefield is the local physician, Dr. James Shepherd.
And Dr. Shepherd is such an interesting choice for a narrator. He's the country doctor. In 1920s England, that is a position of immense authority and trust.
Oh, massive trust. He's the steady hand. He's the man you call when you're vulnerable, when you're sick, when you're dying. He has access to everyone's literal and metaphorical skeletons.
He is the ultimate straight man. He appears very ordinary, professional, maybe a little bit dry. He clearly values his discretion. He's the person you really wouldn't look at twice.
But to understand the doctor and his actual role in the village, you have to look at his domestic life. He lives with his sister, Caroline Shepherd.
Caroline is fantastic. Honestly, in a lot of ways, she feels like a prototype for Miss Marple, who obviously appears later in Christie's work.
That's a really great observation.
Yeah.
She absolutely is.
Yeah.
Caroline is the embodiment of the village intelligence network. Dr. Shepherd actually uses this great biological metaphor to describe her right in the text.
What does he say?
He says her motto should be that of the mongoose family. Go and find out.
That creates such a vivid image, the curious mongoose just sticking its nose into everything in the underbrush.
Right, but the funny thing is, unlike a mongoose, she doesn't run around hunting in the bushes at all. She just sits at home.
Let the gossip come to her.
Exactly. Shepard describes her as sitting placidly in the house, yet somehow she knows everything.
Mm.
He suspects she has an entire intelligence corps made up of servants and tradesmen.
The milkman, the maid, the gardener.
They all just feed her data. She is the spider in the center of the web.
She really acts as the Greek chorus of the novel, doesn't she?
She does. In Greek tragedy, the chorus represents the public voice, the commentary on the action. Caroline voices exactly what the village is thinking at any given moment.
And the irony is that Dr. Shepard acts so superior to her. He claims to be super annoyed by her gossip. He says he deliberately withholds information from her just for his own moral satisfaction.
But the thing is, she's usually right.
Almost always right. And that drives him completely crazy. It's this wonderful sibling dynamic of, well, I'm the professional man of science and you're just a gossip.
But the gossip is the one who actually knows what's going on.
So what is the big news of the day that has the Caroline Intelligence Agency on high alert as the book opens?
It's a death. Specifically, the suicide of a wealthy widow in the village named Mrs. Ferrars. She died on the night of September 16th.
And officially, it's just a tragedy.
Officially, yes. But the village rumor mill is churning overtime because her husband, Ashley Ferrars, died just a year prior.
And the circumstances of his death were, let's just say, murky.
Murky is a very polite way to put it. Ashley Ferrars was a known drunkard. He was abusive and essentially a victim of his own vices.
Right.
He officially died of acute gastritis. But the symptoms of acute gastritis look suspiciously like arsenic poisoning.
And Caroline is convinced, and half the village agrees with her, that Mrs. Ferrars poisoned him to escape the awful marriage.
Exactly. And now she's dead too. It sets up this really grim chain of events right from page 1.
It does. And Dr. Shepard knows she committed suicide. He knows it was an overdose of a sleeping draught called Veronal. But when he talks to Caroline, he plays the professional discretion card.
He lies to her. Or rather, he severely misleads her, denying he has any actual proof of suicide.
Which is our first major red flag regarding our narrator, isn't it? He's totally willing to manipulate the truth to maintain his persona.
It establishes his character perfectly right out of the gate. He deals in technical truths, but emotional lies. He hides behind his medical bag.
And this tragic death leads us directly to the titular character, the man at the top of the local social pyramid, Roger Ackroyd.
Ackroyd is the squire of King's Abbot. He's wealthy, successful, living in the big estate, Fernley Park. He's the sun that the rest of the village orbits around.
But he's not just a happy, wealthy guy. He's a genial man in his 50s, but he carries a lot of heavy history.
He does. He was a widower. His first wife, Mrs. Patton, was a dipsomaniac, which was the period term for an alcoholic. She essentially drank herself to death 4 years into their marriage.
So you have Ackroyd, whose wife died of drink, and Mrs. Ferrars, whose husband died of drink. It seems natural they would gravitate toward one another.
It was the village expectation. There were 2 survivors of alcoholic excess, as the text puts it. They found comfort in their shared trauma. Everyone just expected them to marry.
But then Mrs. Ferrars kills herself, leaving Ackroyd totally devastated, and this triggers the primary inciting incident of the entire plot.
The dinner at Fernley Park.
This scene is really the calm before the storm. Ackroyd invites Dr. Shepard over. He's acting erratic, stressed, and after dinner, he sequesters Shepard in his study and just drops a massive bombshell.
The confession. Ackroyd reveals that Mrs. Ferrars admitted everything to him right before she died.
She actually did poison her husband.
She did. But the guilt of the murder isn't what drove her to suicide.
It was financial pressure.
Blackmail.
Yeah.
Someone in King's Abbot knew her secret. This person had been bleeding her dry for a whole year. She had paid out £20,000.
We really need to pause on that figure for a second. £20,000 in 1926. That is not a small amount of money.
It's an astronomical sum. If you adjust that for inflation, we are talking about well over £1 million, or maybe $1.5 million today.
Wow.
This wasn't petty cash or a few $100 to keep quiet. This is a massive, life-altering wealth transfer. This is a literal empire being drained away week by week.
No wonder she broke under the strain.
The pressure was just too much.
Yeah.
But right before she took the Veronal overdose, she mailed a letter to Roger Ackroyd. And in that letter, she names the blackmailer.
The famous blue envelope.
The post arrives literally while Shepard is sitting in the study. The butler brings it in on a silver tray.
Talk about cinematic timing.
Right. Ackroyd recognizes the handwriting immediately. He knows the name of the man who drove his fiancée to suicide is inside that envelope.
The tension in the scene is masterfully written. You have Ackroyd, who is highly emotional and vengeful, holding the proof, and you have Shepard, the quiet witness, watching him.
Ackroyd starts to open it. He reads the opening lines aloud. But then, strangely, he refuses to read the actual name out loud in front of Shepard.
Why does he stop?
He says he wants to face it alone. He might know the person. It might be a friend. So he dismisses Shepard. He just says, "Leave me. I want to read this alone."
So Shepard leaves, and the clock starts ticking on the murder.
Shepard walks home. And the narrative is very, very specific about the timeline here. He walks through the estate gates, meets a stranger asking for directions to the house.
Which seems like a throwaway detail, but is actually a key piece of the puzzle we'll come back to.
Definitely. He gets home, puts on slippers, and then the phone rings.
The mysterious phone call that officially kicks off the investigation.
Dr. Shepard answers. He turns and tells his sister it was a call from the station from someone at Fernley Park. The message is completely blunt. Roger Ackroyd has been murdered.
Shepard rushes all the way back to the house, bangs on the front door, and the butler, Parker, answers. And this is where the confusion really starts. Parker didn't make the call.
Parker's baffled. He claims Ackroyd is in his study. He hasn't heard a single sound. They start to panic. They go to the study door, and it's locked from the inside.
There's no answer to their shouts, so they break the door down.
And there is Roger Ackroyd, dead in his armchair.
Stabbed in the neck.
With a Tunisian dagger.
That dagger is a very specific detail from the source text. It wasn't something the killer brought with them in a pocket, was it?
No, and that's a crucial piece of deductive logic. It was an ornament that was usually kept on a silver table in the drawing room.
Meaning the killer didn't arrive armed.
Right. They used a weapon of opportunity that was at hand. Or they knew the house well enough to know exactly where to find a lethal weapon before going into the study.
So we have the body, we have a locked door, we have a window that is open, which is highly suspicious because Ackroyd specifically had the shutters closed earlier.
But we have a house full of people, all of whom seem to be hiding something.
This is what Christie calls the jigsaw puzzle. She populates Fernley Park with a cast of classic stock characters, but gives each of them a specific deviation that gives them motive.
Let's run down the list of suspects, starting with the most obvious one for the local police. Ralph Payne.
The stepson.
Ralph is the wild youth archetype. He's handsome, charming, but weak-willed, and in massive, massive debt.
Always a good motive.
The oldest motive in the book. Plus, he had a screaming argument with Ackroyd earlier that very day. Sounds of a massive row were heard by the servants.
And most damningly of all, he was seen walking toward the house that night, but nobody saw him leave.
And now he's missing.
Just completely vanished.
Vanished into thin air. Oh, and there are footprints in the mud outside the open window that exactly match his shoes. For Inspector Raglan, who is the local police authority, this is an open and shut case.
Raglan is ready to wrap it up and go to the pub before lunch.
He really is. He thinks it's completely obvious.
But Christie never makes it that simple. If the obvious suspect did it, it wouldn't be a Christie novel. So then there's the niece, Flora Ackroyd.
Flora is entirely dependent on her uncle for every penny she has. And she claims she went into the study at 9:45 p.m. to say goodnight and that her uncle was alive and talking to her.
This is the crucial alibi that sets the time of death for the whole investigation. If she saw him at 9:45, he absolutely was alive then.
But Flora isn't exactly the angel of the house, is she?
No, she's not. As the layers peel back over the next few chapters, we find out Flora is a thief.
She stole 40 pounds from her uncle's bedroom earlier that very same day. She even describes herself later in the book as a common, vulgar little thief.
But she insists she's not a murderess.
Right. Then you have the staff.
Okay.
Parker, the butler, who is incredibly shifty and prone to eavesdropping at doors.
And Ursula Bourne, the parlor maid.
Ursula is a classic Christie subversion. She isn't just a maid. She's actually a lady who fell on hard times. And, major plot twist here, she is secretly married to Ralph Payton.
The missing stepson.
Yes. Ackroyd found out about the secret marriage and furiously fired her that very afternoon. So she has rage, she has a financial motive, and she has zero alibi.
It's a total pressure cooker. Literally everyone in that house has a reason to want Ackroyd gone. But the local police are too blinded by the physical evidence pointing to Ralph. They need a completely different kind of mind to sort this out.
And to the neighbor.
The funny little man who recently moved in next door to Dr. Shepard.
The man who is currently spending his retirement trying to grow vegetable marrows and failing miserably.
Hercule Poirot.
At this point in his life, Poirot is genuinely trying to be retired. He's throwing squash over the garden wall in pure frustration because he's an awful gardener.
I love that Dr. Shepard initially thinks he's a retired hairdresser.
Because of the ridiculous mustache and the fussiness. It's hilarious. Imagine living next to the world's greatest detective and just thinking, oh, he must have cut hair.
But Flora Ackroyd knows exactly who he is. She is desperate to clear Ralph's name, largely because she wants to marry him. Or rather, she wants to marry his impending inheritance.
So she begs the funny little neighbor to take the case.
And this leads to one of my absolute favorite moments in the book, Poirot's warning.
It really serves as the mission statement of the entire novel. He tells them, to arrive at the truth. The truth, however ugly in itself, is always curious and beautiful to the seeker after it.
It gives you chills.
He explicitly warns them that the truth might destroy them. But once he starts on a case, he will not stop until he reaches the end. He essentially says, do not hire me unless you are prepared for every single secret to come out.
They hire him anyway, of course. And the contrast between Poirot and Inspector Raglan becomes so stark. Raglan is all about the physical evidence, isn't he?
Raglan is the ultimate proceduralist. He asks very literal questions. Did the train arrive at 9.23? He measures footprints in the mud. He dusts for fingerprints.
While Poirot is the psychologist.
Exactly. Poirot asks, why was the chair moved? He looks for the psychological inconsistencies, the things that break human patterns.
Let's talk about that chair for a minute. It seems like such a trivial, boring detail, but Poirot absolutely obsesses over it.
It's the genius of the mundane. When the body was first found, a heavy grandfather chair in the study had been pulled out from the wall. It was positioned so it was blocking the view of the window from the door.
But later, it was pushed back.
Right. Raglan thinks the killer just bumped into it in the dark, or maybe sat in it during an argument. But Poirot realizes a chair that heavy doesn't just get bumped. It was placed there purposely.
To hide something.
Or to deliberately change the sight lines of the room. It's an anomaly. Doesn't fit the pattern of a chaotic, violent struggle. It implies cold calculation. Why on earth would you move a heavy piece of furniture in the middle of committing a murder?
And then there's the mahjong scene. Chapter 16, An Evening at Mahjong. On a first read, this just feels like a quaint break in the action, but it's actually doing a massive amount of heavy lifting for the story.
It's an absolute masterclass in delivering exposition through dialogue. Dr. Shepard, Caroline, and a couple of their neighbors are sitting around playing mahjong. And as they slap down these tiles, calling out the green dragon, the east wind, they are systematically dissecting the murder.
It really shows how the murder has just become entertainment for the village.
Exactly. It's a game to them, just like mahjong is a game. The gossip is a sport.
Yeah.
But notice how Shepard behaves during this scene. He is playing the game, both literally and metaphorically.
He is managing the flow of information.
He records the conversation for us, the reader, carefully noting how close the neighbors get to the actual truth, all while maintaining his perfect poker face. He's bluffing in the tile game, and he's bluffing in real life.
While the village gossips, Poirot is quietly identifying the mechanical puzzles that just don't fit the established timeline. We mentioned the move chair. There's also the dictaphone.
The dictaphone is huge. This was high-tech stuff back in 1926. Ackroyd bought a dictaphone to record his letters so his secretary could type them up later.
And a witness claims they heard Ackroyd talking in his study at 9:30 p.m.
Which is the cornerstone of Raglan's timeline. Since Dr. Shepard left the house before 9.0, this auditory witness proves Ackroyd was alive well after the doctor went home.
But Poirot asks a question that literally nobody else considers. Was it the man speaking, or was it the machine?
That one question undermines the entire police investigation. If it was the machine playing back a recording, Ackroyd could have been dead for almost an hour. It introduces the terrifying idea of a mechanical alibi.
And finally, there's the phone call. The initial call to Dr. Shepard that sent him rushing to the crime scene, the police trace it to a public call box at the local train station.
Which makes no sense to Raglan. Why would the killer call the victim's doctor? It seems completely counterintuitive. Hello, I've just committed a brutal murder. Please come catch me.
Right. It seems like a massive blunder.
Unless the call wasn't a blunder at all. Unless the call was a necessary, calculated part of the killer's exit strategy.
Okay, we have arrived at the moment of truth. We've looked at the village fishbowl, the victim, the long list of suspects, and the eccentric detective. Now, we have to unpack the solution itself.
The twist that literally changed detective fiction forever.
The murderer is not the wild youth Ralph Payton.
Well,
It's not the common thief, Flora. It's not the disgruntled, secretly married maid.
It is none of the people on Raglan's list.
The murderer is the man sitting next to Poirot right now. The man whose eyes we have been using to see the entire story. The man we inherently trusted from page 1, Dr. James Shepherd.
The narrator did it.
Even saying it out loud now, almost a century later, it still feels like a violation of trust. You just inherently trust the eye in a sentence. You assume the person telling you the story is the hero, or at least a neutral observer.
And that is exactly why it works so brilliantly. Christie willfully violated the unwritten rules of the genre.
The Knox Decalogue.
Right. Father Ronald Knox wrote these 10 rules for fair play in mystery novels. And one of the biggest ones was the idea that the Watson figure, the detective's confidant, simply cannot be the villain.
It's considered cheating.
But Christie did it with such intense technical precision that it actually is fair play. She didn't cheat the reader. She provided every single clue honestly. She just allowed us to deceive ourselves based on our own assumptions.
Let's look at the motive first. Why on earth did the good, steady country doctor break bad?
It all goes back to the very beginning, the £20,000 in blackmail. Dr. Shepherd wasn't just sadly observing Mrs. Ferrar's tragedy. He actively caused it.
He knew she poisoned her husband because he was the attending doctor.
Exactly. He likely saw the clear medical signs of arsenic poisoning, but chose to keep quiet, specifically so he could extort her.
He drained her of that massive fortune.
He is a monster, hiding behind a respectable medical bag. He's a clinical sociopath. He rationalizes it, of course. He probably thought he deserved the money more than this murderous widow did. But when Mrs. Ferrar's finally broke and sent that blue envelope to Ackroyd, Shepherd knew his comfortable life was over.
If Ackroyd read the name in that letter, Shepherd would go to prison, lose his social standing, lose his medical license, lose everything. He had to silence Ackroyd before the envelope was opened.
It was pure self-preservation.
But how did he do it? The timeline seems completely impossible. Ackroyd was heard talking at 9:30, Flora saw him at 9:45, and Shepherd was long gone by then.
This is where we need to really geek out on the mechanics of the murder. Shepherd brings the Tunisian dagger with him inside his medical bag. It's a risk, taking it from the drawing room earlier, but a calculated one.
During the post-dinner interview, Ackroyd gets highly emotional about the letter. Shepherd kills him then.
Yes, roughly around 8:50 p.m.
Yeah.
Before he ever leaves the room, Ackroyd is dead in the chair, while Shepherd is supposedly just chatting with him.
Then how do people hear him talking later? What about Flora?
Flora was lying. She admitted later she never went into the study. She just stood outside the door and claimed she saw him, so she could establish she was upstairs when the money was stolen.
Oh, right. She created a false alibi for a theft, which accidentally created a false alibi for a murder.
Exactly. And as for the voice at 9:30, that was the dictaphone. Shepherd rigged the device before he left the study. He modified it, perhaps using a mechanical timer or just setting the dictaphone to run on a delay, to play a loud snippet of Ackroyd's own recorded voice right at 9:30 p.m.
And the grandfather chair.
The dictaphone was sitting on a small table near the window. If someone, like a servant or a patrolling guard, looked through the keyhole or the open window, they might see the machine running on its own.
Which would give away the trick immediately.
Right. So after stabbing Ackroyd, Shepherd pulls that heavy grandfather chair out from the wall to perfectly block the line of sight from the door and window to the table. It hides the machine.
So he kills him, sets the dictaphone trap, moves the heavy chair, and just casually leaves. He walks home, establishing his airtight alibi. He even intentionally stops to talk to a stranger at the front gate just to ensure there's a witness seeing him leave the property.
He leaves nothing to chance. Then he has his accomplice trigger the phone call to his own house.
Wait, who was the accomplice?
A patient he had previously manipulated.
Oh.
Likely an American steward from an ocean liner who owed the doctor a favor and was leaving the country the next day. The steward calls from the station just before getting on a train.
So Shepherd receives the call. Ackroyd is murdered. He acts shocked for Caroline. He rushes back to the house. He helps Parker break down the locked door.
And here is the truly genius part of the plan. As soon as the door is down, he sends Parker away to call the police. That gives him nearly 2 full minutes entirely alone in the study with the fresh corpse.
In those 2 minutes.
He shoves the dictaphone into his medical bag, and he pushes the grandfather chair back to its proper place against the wall.
He effectively cleans up the crime scene after the body has already been discovered.
He uses his status as the trusted medical examiner to tamper with the evidence right in front of everyone. It's diabolical.
But the most brilliant part of this whole construction isn't the physical murder, it's the writing itself.
The Apologia, chapter 27.
Yes. Shepard explains how he actually wrote the manuscript we've been reading. He takes immense, almost arrogant pride in the fact that he never actually lied to the reader.
He is so proud of his own cleverness.
We actually have the text here. Let's look at the specific passage from early in the book where the murder physically happens. This is the absolute smoking gun of the literary trick.
Right, it's so good.
He writes, "The letter had been brought in at 20 minutes to 9. It was just on 10 minutes to 9 when I left him, the letter still unread. I hesitated with my hand on the door handle, looking back and wondering if there was anything I had left undone."
It sounds so completely innocent. Wondering if there was anything I had left undone. Like, did I forget my hat? Did I leave my medical bag by the sofa?
But in the final chapter, he finally fills in the blank for us. He tells us what that seemingly innocent sentence really meant. He writes, "I did what little had to be done."
I did what little had to be done.
That one phrase completely conceals the physical act of stabbing a man in the neck.
He doesn't say I didn't kill him. He simply skips the physical action of the murder entirely. He creates a temporal gap in the text.
It's the ultimate omission of truth. Our brains automatically fill in that gap with benign actions because we are socially conditioned to trust the narrator. We assume he just walked out the door because that's what normal people do.
Christie uses our own cognitive bias right against us. It's a purely linguistic trick. The sentence is grammatically and technically true, but narratively it is completely false. It is the ultimate sleight of hand.
So Poirot figures it all out. He gathers everyone in the house for what he calls Poirot's little reunion. He clears Ralph Peyton, he clears Flora, he clears the servants, and then he confronts Shepard. But he doesn't do it publicly, does he?
No, and this is where we get into the really deep moral complexity of the book. Poirot confronts Shepard completely privately afterward. He lays out the entire case, the shoes, the dictaphone, the timing of the chair. He basically tells him, I know everything.
And then he offers him a choice.
It's a very strange, archaic form of mercy. Poirot tells him that the whole truth must go to Inspector Raglan in the morning, specifically to save the innocent Ralph Patton from the gallows. But, he says, think of your good sister Caroline.
He knows that if Shepard is publicly arrested, tried, and hanged for murder, Caroline will be utterly destroyed by the shame and scandal. It will kill her socially and emotionally.
So Poirot suggests a very dark alternative. He suggests that Shepard go home, finish writing his manuscript, and then take an overdose of his own sleeping draught.
He suggests suicide.
He explicitly encourages the killer to execute himself. In Poirot's mind, it ensures justice for the victim, safety for the innocent suspect Rolf, but mercy for the completely innocent bystander Caroline.
Because she will believe her brother just died of an accidental overdose. Or maybe a grief-induced suicide over failing to save his friend. But she will never have to know he was a cold-blooded murderer.
It's a very dark, pragmatic ending, and the narrator just accepts it.
He does. The final lines of the book are incredibly haunting. Shepard isn't repenting for his sins at all. He's mostly just annoyed that Poirot outsmarted him.
His ego is bruised.
Right. He writes, I am rather pleased with myself as a writer.
Typical narcissist to the very end. But then his absolute final thought is of Caroline. He writes, I should not like Caroline to know. She is fond of me, and then too, she has plenty of things in life to be going on with. I should not like Caroline to know.
And that is the end of the manuscript. He dies to protect the feelings of the exact same sister he spent the entire book mocking and belittling.
It completely recontextualizes their whole relationship. You have to wonder, did he actually love her more than he ever admitted to himself?
Or, knowing his narcissism, did he just want to control her perception of him one last time? He wanted to remain the flawless good doctor in her eyes forever. He couldn't stand the thought of her pitying or hating him.
I lean toward the control aspect. He was a master manipulator until his final breath.
So looking back at this massive 1926 landmark, why do you think it still holds up so well? I mean, we've seen a million unreliable narrators since then, books like Gone Girl or movies like Fight Club, but this one still hits differently.
I really think it's because Shepard isn't insane. In Fight Club, the narrator is literally hallucinating. He doesn't know he's lying to us. But in Roger Ackroyd, Shepard is cold, highly calculated, and perfectly sane.
He is manipulating us, the reader, with the exact same precision he used to manipulate the police. It feels intensely personal.
We were the marks. We were the victims of the con. It challenges the fundamental way we consume information. We just naturally tend to believe the voice in our ear. The Murder of Roger Ackroyd is a stark, brilliant reminder that every single story is curated. Every narrative has an angle,
Even the ones that seem the most objective and clinical.
especially those. The person holding the pen always decides what is truth and what is omission.
That is a deeply powerful takeaway to leave you with.
It is. If we cannot even trust Dr. Shepard, the steady, reliable country doctor, who can we actually trust?
Well, on that slightly paranoid note...
Sorry to leave you with permanent trust issues.
No, it's good. It keeps us sharp.
Yeah.
This has been an absolutely incredible deep dive into the mind of Agatha Christie and the mechanics of deception.
It's been a total pleasure.
But we do want to leave you with one final thought to mull over. We've talked extensively about how Dr. Shepard edited his personal story to hide the truth. Those 10 minutes he just casually skipped over.
The gap in the historical record.
Right. So here's the question for you to take away. If we cannot blindly trust the person telling us the story in a structured novel, can we ever really know the objective truth in history or journalism or even our own family stories?
How much of our fundamental understanding of the world is shaped solely by the specific narrator we happen to listen to?
And more importantly, what are they leaving out?
Exactly. What is in the 10 minutes they aren't telling you about?
Think about that the next time you hear a compelling story. Thank you so much for listening to this deep dive.
Goodbye.
See you next time.